Okay, with the release of One Piece Chapter 1030, there's a few things I want to talk about. There's not a lot I want to speak on because the first half of the chapter I wasn't really a fan of, and there's a bit to talk about with that, but I'm not really going to dwell on it for too long. Basically, the Scabbards are alive, all besides Doji, and Law basically didn't fully undo his room on Kinemon, which is a bit weird, but hey. Just the standard, you can't get people dying until the end of an arc if they are going to die thing, and you have to keep them going, make it real Shakespearean, I'm back from the dead type shit, and that crap. Not a big fan of it, but there's not a lot to dwell on with that, because that's just how it is. I did like, however, that Yamato might end up running into Orochi, because Orochi seems to be on his way to the armory, and that's where Yamato's gone, and we might have an interaction with them. And maybe that's where, what's her name? Hiyori is. So that would be cool as well, we'll have that. But other than that, there's not much to speak on besides this Conjuro makes a big flame demon that's obviously there to kind of get all the, kind of dwindle down the numbers to anyone but the main players, you know, like all the fathers basically either going to die or switch sides, so yeah, pretty cool way to do that. I mean, it will probably be a thing where either Hiyori, Momo, or Yamato will take him out at some point, take out like the Conjuro beast, and then Conjuro's gonna die, if not already dead from that, what he did earlier in the chapter where he just made that. Maybe he's dead already. Well, Conjuro is definitely dead. Kinemon is definitely not dying at this point, it looks like. I think Kiku will die though. I think Kiku will, and I think Doji is dead. I don't think Kinemon's gonna die. I've kind of given up on that idea right now, but that's all from the first part of the chapter, really. The main talking points of this chapter is something I'm really interested in, which is the awakened abilities versus hockey debate, okay? Because this is great. This is great stuff. Because we see now Kid and Law fighting Big Mom with their awakened abilities. Now, whether it's a bit weird that like they're having a flashback to tell us that their abilities are awakened, and not showing us that, like, not just having them awaken them during this fight, which would have been much better than flashing back to say, oh, do you have awakened abilities? And he's like, yeah, I do. Instead of them just awakening them in this fight, which would have been better and more climactic. But you know what? This chapter's a bit all over the place, so no, but it's a fun thing to have, so we're not going to complain too much about this. Yeah, so basically, they awaken their abilities, and now Law can put stuff inside Big Mom. It makes her bleed, by the way, so we got Law is now able to damage Big Mom, and now Kid's able to turn her into a magnet, so that's cool as well. So she's just destroying the place around her and getting like area damage, which is cool. Now, that's what happened in the chapter, but there's so much to discuss on the potential now of this, right? Because we were seeing there was an issue with the One Piece fighting system where hockey was kind of taking the forefront, and especially now with Conquerors, where it's like you can't really be a top tier fighter without Conquerors. But we're seeing in this chapter now that awakened abilities are something else, right? Like if they can cause damage to Big Mom, if you're a master or somewhat good at armament hockey and you have an awakened fruit, you're still on par with like a Conqueror's hockey user like Luffy. Obviously maybe not as good because they haven't gotten used to it and it still takes a lot of energy. They're not as skilled with their awakening as Doflamingo. So they're still not at the top, but they're still pretty good. And it's showing me now what the future of One Piece in terms of, you know, keeping up with characters without them turning into the same power system. Is certain characters are going to be absolute masters of Conqueror's hockey to be top tier. Other characters are going to have an absolute mastery of their Devil Fruit and Awakenings. And now, with Advanced Rio and Armament Hockey, I feel like hockey's still going to be a thing, but with those two factors, you're going to be able to combat Conqueror's hockey users with Devil Fruits if you have an Awakened Devil Fruit and Advanced Rio or extremely good Armament Hockey. I feel like people are saying now, does this mean Luffy's going to have to get his Conqueror's Hockey, or not Conqueror's Hockey, but Awakening? And I don't believe so. I actually think this writes off Luffy's Awakening entirely. Because if you think about it, at least not until the end of the series, I feel like he's not going to need his awakening until a point where he needs to. Like, I think he might get to a point where he gets it near the time when the moon is coming to Earth. Because if you think about it, the moon would probably destroy the Earth. So what happens? Luffy turns it to rubber to avoid impact. Or turns the ground to rubber to avoid the damage. That's when he'll get his awakening during whatever fight that is. But in Elbath or Marijuana invasion, anything like that, I don't think he'll get it now. But personally now at this point, I'd rather if he doesn't get it at all. I understand he'll need it to do that, to stop certain things from happening, certain world catastrophic damage. If not, maybe a blast of Uranus, he might have to stop using his awakening to turn the ground into rubber. But I still feel like it's not going to be as potent as the rest of them, because that's what they're going to have. I now think Law's definitely not ever getting a Conqueror's Hockey in any way. And Kid will still get advanced. I'm still very keen on Kid being on the same level as Luffy in that regard, because he'll still get advanced Conquerors because they have him having Conquerors and he's fighting against Big Mom now. They're not on the same level as Big Mom, they're a tier below it, but it still shows that you can still be a top tier fighter without advanced Conquerors, which I think is a good way to do this. I'm very thankful how Oda did this. I'm very thankful about this new thing, and it's very cool in a sense of, like, you know, now Law can still compete for the spot of Pirate King, or as like a Yonko contestant. The Supernova trio rivalry is still going, what is what I'm trying to say. And I'm very, very happy with this, how they're doing it. I'm extremely happy with that. Now, as I said, the first half of the chapter is like, bit coincidence after coincidence. Except for the part where Drake is like stringing along Apu because he knows Apu's gonna get the shit kicked out of him when the Marines come here. Oh, there is one other thing I want to speak on, which is, I was thinking earlier on that Lucci is on his way to Wano, but people pointed out to me that it doesn't look like he is. It looks like he's just in an office. So that means we're only going to get to see those three people there on the island attack Robin. So I didn't talk about what I was going to talk about. So we see now this is probably going to be Brook's fight, which I think is really cool. But it also means I am very, very keen on the fact that I think now Brook is actually going to keep Robin safe. Because when it was Lucci, I was like, it would make sense for it to be able to be captured. But if it's just these three guys, who I assume are very, very strong. But I feel like it's going to be shown, like, now the Straw Hats are at a level where if you go after Robin, you'll get fucked. Right? And I also think this might be a way to further advance Usopp's and maybe Luffy's observation hockey. I feel like there's going to be a scene in this arc where, because Usopp didn't get a fight either, right? Where Robin is captured. Like, not actually captured, but Brook kind of fails a little bit. And she, like, they grab her hair and they're about to bring her off. And Usopp's can hear this, right? He has sort of a similar thing to Kobe, but not exactly. It's more of a sniper's instinct type thing. And he's like, oh shit. And then he knows where it's coming from, so he has to. Either he warns Nami and they make a run towards that area, or he shoots something from afar to hit into the CP0 to protect Robin. I think that's how it's going to go now. I'm looking at it this way, and I feel like that's a very good way where we can get Usopp and Brook to have their fights and maybe involve Nami a little bit. So yeah, it's very, very good, this chapter. I'm very, very happy about it and how, like, it's building up. Obviously the first part of it I wasn't a big fan of, with all that shit with Kinemon and the Scabbards and stuff. I think most of them need to die. I'm okay with like a few of them surviving, but most of them need to die at this point. And Hiyori needs to do some shit. She literally just showed up as a silhouette. Like, she needs to do some shit now, honestly. And I think having Orochi survive was actually good that way, because we can have her take out Orochi. I was thinking maybe adult Momo would help her out, but he has his other stuff to do, and I don't feel like he'll be able to stop it without doing this now. So it's very interesting. It has upped the stakes a little bit and has made it so there is technically a possibility that the raid could fail, but I doubt it at this point, to be honest. I don't see this happening, although they have made it so, you know, we could have a massive explosion that doesn't directly affect Wano, but could make it so the raid fails. which I'm very excited for, because people don't understand this blow isn't going to affect Kaido, because Kaido can affect flames on a masterful level, so Kaido can just kind of do what Zuko did in Avatar The Last Airbender and make like a flame shield for himself. So he's completely fine. So to me this does increase the likelihood of the raid failing, but not by much, and I still don't feel like it's going to happen. This was like the first chapter where I'm kind of... It was a good chapter, but it wasn't a banger, and this is the first one that I'm reviewing that I'm like, it wasn't an absolute banger chapter, because I didn't like the first part of it, but the rest of it was amazing. And obviously we got another look at Yamato's, her zone form, which it gets cooler and cooler the more I look at it, although we haven't got it, like, haven't got like proper size comparison. I think when she's on the ship, or I don't know what we could show to show how big she is, because to me she just looks like a regular wolf, but they're all saying in the text it's like giant wolf, right? But it doesn't look giant to me, so I wonder when we're going to get that like size comparison type thing that makes it more obvious. But yeah, that's basically all there was to talk about from this chapter. There's, as I said, I'm very happy about how we're able to keep the Supernova 3 rivalry going with the Awakenings, and how it's kind of revitalizing the Devil Fruit versus Hockey type of debate going on. I'm really, really happy about that. There's so much good shit happening in this chapter. Can't wait for the next one. But I'm a bit disappointed by the first half. But you know, it is how it is. Can't get a banger all year, right? Can you? Also, fuck a poo. Like, just fuck off, man. You should be dead by now. Not gonna lie. I know they want to have like an all Supernova thing in the war, but like, fuck this shit. I don't care about it. I don't care at the end of the series. You need to die. Apu, you need to just die, please, please, please. That's my only prayer for this right now. Hashtag fuck Apu. Let's go.